Today for me was a connector day, so I found it very interesting because of fifth period and so many events. Now I didn't wake up early today this time, so my mom was pressuring me to get ready. I was already ready by the time then, but the problem is that my mom kept on being forceful. You guys know that my mom tends to be very punctual, and even a single wrinkle in my pants, she thinks I'm gonna get called out in school for being unpunctual, and that she explodes out of anger, even for anything that seems slightly wrong, as if the world is about to end. I don't know if this is like a trend with Asian parents or any type of culture, but this one I'm really not sure. I don't like this because it doesn't allow any negotiation. Like even saying that my pants or shirt is wrinkled, she just forces me to change it now without any saying before of why. It's a disproportionate reaction because she's mad as if the world is about to end, and she don't even say sorry for being disproportionate. Anything that goes slightly out of order for her, she just explodes in anger. And she just made me wear black pants instead for the ones who wonder why I've been wearing black pants today. So I don't know. I don't accept this type of behavior from my mom. This is not a form of love, but this is a form of societal conditioning and how she was raised back then. Spirit, I completed a Spanish test regarding the yo verbs and the prepositional nouns. Like the sad life of a no sabo kid, that means that the teacher threatened to give zeros if we put yo sabo as one of the answers. He said it was one of the last times he'll also be doing group tests because of how his freshman class is acting. Second period, I continued on PE. I did a simple walk and I thought of bringing my sweater, but I decided to take it off since it was already getting hot. I planned to play volleyball alone, but the whole team ended up joining and I had a little bit more fun. It was better than sitting out lonely, but it's best that I do this sometimes and not all the time. Third period, a partner and I worked on a quiz for 10 questions and we worked on a Socratic seminar worksheet for the first few questions. Next week, we're going to be doing presentations about this word by word in like a little Socratic seminar. I'll be the head speaker since she doesn't speak English as well as I do. Now, fourth period, I did a video watching Francisco Franco's rise to spin and how he used tactics against his own country, simply waging a war in his own place instead of another country, and to make yet another totalitarian state. The teacher made us do notes alone to finish up comparing worksheets, so I really had to hurry myself up. I thought we had a Padlet assignment, which I ended up wasting a few minutes trying to find. I didn't have it, so I just worked on the comparison rulers worksheet, and then I barely ended up finishing the notes right at the end of class. Lunch period, I wanted to interact with a new person in the library and maybe find a book, but I decided not to, as interactions may have been fleeting. I like to talk with new people sometimes, but when I know I may not talk to them later on, I do kind of hesitate right there. Sadly, I ate Pop Tarts during this time since I didn't eat this morning, which is a very mallow choice for me. Fifth period, today's Friday the 13th, so I picked 2 coins out of my wallet and bet to the teacher that there was going to be late students, and one of the teachers actually guessed I had 13 cents on me, even though I myself didn't even realize I had 13 cents on my hand. I just picked coins randomly from my wallet, and well, it's a coincidence that today is Friday the 13th. I guess we're just unlucky twice, one this morning and one now. The teacher jokingly said that we should buy some lottery numbers out of luck. Another teacher did ask us for later during class to look for a hidden duck, and they said one of the staff hid it while the teacher was gone for a little bit of like a fine, like a game to find some things. And I asked if she used a secret camera, but she didn't know, so there was no way for her to actually put like her phone camera to record where they hid the duck. I first looked near the shirt posters of the sport player names and the small cheerleader pom poms. I had a feeling it was there because it's the most stable place and it does look very much hidden. I looked elsewhere instead just to make sure, but someone else found a little duck before me. And it's not a real duck, it's just like a toy duck. And even then, her husband came in later and he gave my teacher a Valentine's Day kiss. We continued later on, even though it was very fun, teachers were also clapping too. We continued on Lord of the Flies, chapter 7, later on, but the class as a collective, after reading just like 1 to 2 pages, we felt tired, the teacher felt tired, so we decided to just call it off and we'll do it next week instead. One of the girls blew bubbles and I found it quite interesting because there was a lot of Valentine's Day gifts rolling around. Now, one of the guys of another class unannounced and got called out by the teacher in front of in third person form saying, explain to me why someone is coming in my class near the end of the period and is being very disruptive, which she was writing in her notes as if he was about to give it to him and give call another teacher, but she gave the boy a chance to leave. And they had an interesting interaction with the other boys in my class, but went mostly fine. I jokingly said that as he left, and then I told the girls that they're all on the Epstein list, and the other boys too, since it looked quite obvious. I jokingly said, one of the girls said back to me that yes, they're literally in the first page of the list as the boys laughed, and they're all acting crazy. And then I said, LSN listo de Epstein. Yeah, they told me to repeat it again later on. It was really funny. The girls also made some repeat jokes about the Epstein list. Obviously, we're not actually on the Epstein list, just to make that clear here. But now, those same boys went even more crazier, and they was telling some story about how one of them and their cousin, while they were in the hotel room, they apparently kissed each other while they were there after some sport practice, and everyone very much looked curiously at the boys as a result. Even some cracked a few jokes. But for the rest of the class period, since this is like free time at this point, I did a Valentine's Day activity for math. And one thing that I do need to note is that as we were reading Lord of the Flies, one of the girls tried sneaking in like chips through their backpack, and I saw them doing it. There were a few others, but the teacher didn't catch on. Fifth period, I finished up a Valentine's Day activity, which is mostly a filler assignment, and then I colored it. The assignment's way was to use a correct solutions color on a coloring page, and wherever that number is on that coloring page, which is present there. After that, I finished pretty early on that since I do know how to use quadratics, and I practiced graphing a parabola and using a table of values. For anyone curious, it was the equation of y equals 0.1 parentheses x minus 1 squared parentheses plus 2. Oh, the squirt goes out of the parentheses, but you guys get my drift. Now, the lesson I've learned this week socially is that people who tend to put on masks on new interactions, it's not because they would hate others, but because they want to protect themselves. But those same protective instincts is what also gives isolation. I've also learned how certain high school friend groups who move around often subconsciously fail to let newcomers know where they're going, out of false suspicion and repeated routines, and the assumption that everyone else would get it. And this drops all around the reason that I want to be a Link crew leader in the near future is that because this is my moral duty to let freshmen know of these little nuances many people would overlook in my high school. And yes, even though most of them will have high school groups to drift with, it's important that they still at least have some knowledge of what's been going on.